Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special live Oscars nominations reaction video here from the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey! That's right.
It's early. Where's the coffee? Oh.
Oscars. All right, we are here to talk about the nominations from that were announced this morning at like 5:30 in the morning. There, a lot of fun hearing the nominations being announced, seeing some of the mangling of the names, but also some of the interesting nominees that were put forth. I'm going to talk about it all here. We introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies in the Outlaw Nation. Mike?
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
Shannon?
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Silicon Valley, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and The Goldbergs.
And we're all avid film fans. All three of us have had numerous conversations about movies over the years. That's kind of how we came together as friends and kind of how we've kept going and discussing and talking about these kinds of things. And yes, we're not just nerdy, geeky guys. We also get into the Oscars, watch the Oscars. We've had numerous Oscar watch parties at Michael Vogel's house. So it's been a fun thing to consider.
And make a mean charcuterie. You come over and get that charcuterie.
That's right. We've had ballots, we've had arguments, we've had battles, we've had debates. It's been a fun time. And before we jump into all the nominations here, just want to give a big shout out to our sponsor here, Carbon Health. Carbon Health has been fantastic in sponsoring us over the last few months, continuing their sponsorship here of every show we do on the Geek Buddies and especially the Outlaw Nation itself. So thank you to Carbon Health. They are a leading national healthcare provider. They've got 90 clinics in 14 states and virtual care in 24 states. You can go to www.carbonhealth.com and see if they've got a place near you. And if some of you are reacting to these awards and having heart attacks or having issues or having anger, maybe your blood pressure is getting high, go to carbonhealth.com, get it checked out for sure. And I'm sure there are a number of people who were not nominated who might want to look at Carbon Health. I'm looking at you there, Lady Gaga and Jared Leto. But we will get to a lot of things as we get into these nominations. And, of course, the Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. 85 of you are already watching us now. Please remember to hit a like on this video as we get going. Let's get a real quick overall view. Michael, how do you feel about the nominations overall as you looked at them this morning, as you heard them being announced? Overall, how do you feel going into this Oscars coming up here in a few short weeks?
Overall, it feels expected in a not bad way. Like, okay. I think that, a lot of years, particularly recently, especially last year, it felt like the nominations felt very Oscar-y, but like it was movies not a lot of people had seen. And like, It was just very sort of, I guess. And this year, even though obviously there's some big popular movies that I'm sure we will touch on that did get a little snubbed, those aren't surprising that they got snubbed. They are the types of movies that always get snubbed. And when you look at the movies that did get nominated, like this is a more well-rounded group of movies, but they all feel like Oscar movies. I was just talking about this with somebody in the car on the way to the gym this morning. I was like, this list seems like the list you would expect. I'm excited to watch the Oscars. I'm excited to spend the next month watching all the things that I haven't seen yet because I love my little Oscar cheat sheet to be like, here's the things I got to check out. And so it looked good. We'll talk about some of the snubs, but even the snubs that annoyed me weren't the most surprising of snubs. Okay. So it seemed like a well-rounded Academy Awards list for the year.
All right, fair enough. Shannon, your thoughts here before we jump into the nominees and the nominations.
Yeah, nothing too surprising. Like there were some individual snubs. There's one in particular that I was shocked because I thought it was one of the best performances of the year. But outside of that, I mean, for the most part, it was the movies that a lot of the movies that have been talked about that have been nominated already for BAFTAs, for SAG Awards, for Golden Globes. The ones that have kind of been dominating the conversation for most of the awards season. So nothing too surprising. This is going to be an interesting conversation because at least amongst the Best Picture nominees, Best Picture and Best Actress, there are quite a few that I haven't seen. There was one that I started and I just couldn't get through it. Okay. I'll try to go back to it at one point because it seems like that's where the easy money is in terms of betting. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Okay, yeah, and I would say overall, I think there was a lot of things to like here, and there were a few things not to like. And is it too old to start is it too late to start an Oscars so old hashtag? I mean, there's so many new actresses and actors who were not even close to getting nominated, and some of the old guard that got nominated. And I don't know, I don't want to be ageist, but by the same token, I also want to be like, hey, let's open the doors a little bit more. We said we want to make these changes to be more diverse. The other side of it is it isn't just about letting women and people of color through the door. It's also about really recognizing younger actors and actresses who are getting a shot to do incredible work and get nominated for that, rather than nominating Anthony Hopkins for the 75th time or Olivia Colman for the 20th time or somebody else. Like, it's just those kinds of things where I kind of feel like maybe there's a little bit of the old guard still hanging on a little bit in this idea you have to earn your stripes to get the Oscar nomination. And then on the other side, you've got people like Denis Villeneuve, who can't seem to catch a break aside from one nomination in his entire career, yet in my opinion has never made a bad movie. So it's just like, it's crazy how you look at all of this, and it's confounding but also exciting and fun to have conversations about, because that's what it's really all about. Right now, we got 138 of you joining us live. Thank you very much here this morning. Real quick, Doug Joseph says it's almost Valentine's Day, so time to throw some love at the Geek Buddies. Thanks for all you do. Question: if you had to narrow the Best Picture down to 5 nominations this year, the old days, which 5 would each of you pick? This is a great question. First of all, thank you, Doug Joseph, for the incredible donation here. But also, let's get into the best. That leads us into the Best Picture nominees conversation here. Let's bring them up on the screen. Here is the Best Picture nominees for this year. Belfast, of course, from director Kenneth Branagh. Coda, that is on Apple TV Plus. So excited to see that. Don't Look Up, the very controversial film on Netflix. Drive My Car. Dune, speaking of Denis Villeneuve. King Richard, which I'm very happy to see getting nominated here. Licorice Pizza. Nightmare Alley. The Power of the Dog. And West Side Story. So an interesting mix here of some big films, some films that didn't perform at the box office, some smaller films, and some films from some old standards here in the world of the Oscars. So, gentlemen, thoughts on these Best Picture nominees and what your feelings are about what, I guess, about the nominees, and can we answer Doug Joseph's question as well after we finish our discussion here, picking just 5 out of these 10? Mike, I'll start with you. Reactions to these Best Picture nominees. What stood out to you? What are you excited about? And maybe what do you feel got left out?
I'm trying to take a look here. Like like Shannon, I haven't seen all of them, so a lot of this is my educated guesses, just based on talking to you guys, talking to other friends. But Belfast is one that I have not seen that I'm excited to see.
Okay.
Coda, excellent. Don't Look Up, I still haven't watched yet, but a little bit surprised that it made it into the Best Picture nominees. Drive My Car, have not seen, but excited to watch. Dune, pleasantly surprised that it made it into the nominations. We'll get to the director issue in a minute. But really glad that Dune made it in. I mean, Dune is a lot of movie, and on any level, whether you love the movie, thought it was really long and boring, thought you were confused by it, it is absolutely a cinematic achievement. King Richard, I kind of think is one of the movies to beat. Licorice Pizza, I have not watched, but every time John Rocha brings it up, I cannot wait to watch it, because I cannot wait to either feel the way John feels about it or feel the exact opposite and just argue with John about it to no end. Nightmare Alley, another surprise that it is in the list. Power of the Dog, no surprise at all. We can talk about that movie in more detail in a minute. And West Side Story, I'm really happy. I assumed West Side Story was going to make it into the mix, but West Side Story, I feel like it's a tragedy that it had the box office that it had. I feel so strongly about that movie being so powerful and amazing. I feel like I got the Steven Spielberg of my childhood back for one more movie. I just thought that movie was so spectacular on every conceivable level. Probably my top movie of the year.
Wow.
Or one of, let me rephrase. As far as what I would like to win the Academy Award, I think that is an Academy Award winning movie. I don't know that it beats Spider-Man No Way Home or some other things for me, but like even in the Dune versus West Side Story category, I would go West Side Story. Like West Side Story to me was a cinematic moment of me having an emotional trauma in a movie theater, and my friends had to hold me, and I loved it. To answer Doug's question, again, without seeing all of these movies. So this isn't necessarily what I would like my 5 to be, but in looking at this list and some of the surprises, I think that if you were going to narrow this down to 5, it would go Belfast, Dune, King Richard, Power of the Dog, West Side Story.
Okay. All right. Shannon, thoughts on the overall nominations? Which one stood out to you? And do you have any snubs that you felt should have been nominated here? And do you have a top 5 of these 10?
Okay, so I will definitely say one of the snubs is The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yes.
I thought that was such an interesting film that they were able to truncate a very, very long text into a very easy to digest, hour and 45 minutes, hour and 50 minutes. It was just so unique. And I thought the performances were stellar. And, that's evidenced by Denzel Washington's best actor nomination. Looking at the list, I think Vogel and our list are very, very similar. I have not seen Belfast. I've wanted to see it for a while. My screener hasn't gotten here and I missed it when it was in the theaters. Coda has been my number 1 movie of the year since I watched it.
Yeah.
So Coda is absolutely deserves that nomination. Don't Look Up, kind of a surprise, but I saw it and I really enjoyed it. Drive My Car, I have not seen. Dune, I'm not on that train. I mean, when we watched it in the theaters, I'm like, I can recognize this for the achievement that it is, but it is a bit inaccessible for folks that maybe don't know the books that well. So that is kind of, but also I think that's a Denis Villeneuve thing.
Yeah.
That there is a distance with him. I mean, what was the Emily Blunt movie? Sicario.
Yes,
that is my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie. I mean, I thought that movie was spectacular and just a crime that it did not get nominated, nor did he get nominated that year. I don't think he's ever hit that Sicario level since. But yeah. I mean, I know.
You don't think Arrival was better than Sicario? You thought Sicario? Wow. Okay.
No.
I think Arrival's my number 1.
Strong.
I gotta say, Arrival's my number 1 Denny movie.
It's definitely Sicario for me. It was just such a tense story. It was just fantastic. Yeah. King Richard, Coda is number 1. King Richard is number 2, and. Wow. I really hope that this is, I mean, we're not onto that category yet, but I really hope this is Will Smith's year. Licorice Pizza, my goodness. So I witnessed the vitriol from John online and over the phone in regards to this movie. And I went and saw it because I had some time to kill one day. I was like, this is the long movie. I'll go see it. Yeah. I have never been a PTA guy. And this just further demonstrates, like, as I was watching it, I mean, I thought John was maybe overreacting a little bit until I saw the movie. I'm like, nope. Not only is he right with sort of the more cringy aspects of it, but I'm also like, what is this about? Like, this kid's an actor and suddenly selling water beds. Like, what is going on? And I want to say I was maybe 75% of the way through the movie, and I was like, I don't care. And I left. And I never leave movies. I couldn't do anymore.
My desire to watch this movie and love it is so high. I don't think I will. I kind of have a feeling I'm gonna agree with you both, but my desire to watch this movie and be like, y'all are crazy. Best picture.
Now you're gonna go in half wanting to say that.
Yep.
So yeah,
I think Vogel, just to spite us, is going to have a contrarian point of view about this. Nightmare Alley, it's on Hulu right now. I mean, that's one of those films that
I might check that out later today.
I think had more people that I know really kind of saying its praises, I probably would have gotten to it sooner. But for the most part, I don't know a lot of people who have seen it. Like folks whose opinions I generally trust. It just kind of came and went. So the fact that it got nominated, that does say something. Power of the Dog, that's another one. Like, I started it and I got about 20 minutes in. I'm like, I didn't necessarily think that, like, this is bad, but I'm like, I can't watch this right now. Like, I'm not in the headspace to take in this movie. West Side Story, not a surprise, well deserved. But for the 5, I would definitely go. And I'm doing a little bit of reading the tea leaves. For me, it would be Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, King Richard, and probably West Side Story.
Fair enough. Let me bring it up again because you guys have been talking so long. I forgot who was nominated here. I would say this. Here's what I'll say. Belfast, I thoroughly loved. Of the three of us, I've seen it. I absolutely loved it. I think it's a fantastic love letter to growing up, coming of age at a certain time, in a certain place, and in a certain area where a lot of drama was going on. And Brana made it touch on what was happening in our world now, the divisions in our world, the tribalism in our world. Coda, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful film. More than just a film about someone following their dreams. There's so much going on here. Plus, the deaf versus listening aspect is done so well. Don't Look Up. Whew, that was an interesting film. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Drive My Car, I've not seen yet. I will get around to that one. Dune, thoroughly loved. Great to see it here nominated. King Richard, very surprised they nominated this one. This is such a populist sports film, so I was very surprised by that. Yes, I would kick King Richard, Licorice Pizza right off the list here. Nightmare Alley, I might kick out as well. I didn't love it as much as other people did. Even the black and white version, which is the one I saw in the theaters. Power of the Dog is something. It's an experience for sure. And then West Side Story. I think West Side Story is my number one. West Side Story is my absolute number one film of the year so far. But Coda is a close second, and I enjoyed both of those films. So if I was going to choose out of those five, I'd have to say Coda, King Richard, West Side Story, Belfast, and Dune. I guess those would be my five out of those. To be honest with you, those would be my five right there. Looking at it. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
I do think The Power of the Dog is an interesting one because it is a slow, a slow burn is being generous.
Yeah.
Like it is well, I wouldn't even say kind because I like kind of to Shannon's point. It's not a movie that you watch and you go, this is bad.
Right.
Like you're watching, all of these performances are great. It's a beautifully shot movie, but it is very slow. It is, you're just watching these scenes sort of unfold. And but the thing that's crazy and the reason that it is nominated is you watch this movie and you kind of think you have a sense of who these characters are.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I get what this is. You kind of do a lot of, okay, I get it, I get what this is. Then you get to the end of the movie, and I'm talking like the last 10 minutes of the movie. And everything gets flipped around, and everything you thought about, all the assumptions you made about almost every character and who you're sympathizing with and who you're not sympathizing with and what's going on is all sort of challenged in a really interesting way. And so it's one of those movies where for the entire movie, I was watching it, and similar to Shannon, I was like, all right, like these performances are good. This is a beautiful movie, but boy, this is slow. And then I got to the end of the movie, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? What? And I like had to run back. I had to run, and I've read a lot of reviews with it. This is the people's reaction, so it's not just me. But like you go back and you're like, okay, wait a minute, and it almost, I shit you not, makes you want to go back and rewatch the whole movie and be like, wait, I got to pay more attention to this. So there's a reason that it is on the list. It is absolutely, as everybody who's listening to this, if you're going to like go through like we are and you're going to watch the movies you haven't seen, you will watch Power of the Dog, and 20 minutes in, you're going to pull the Shannon McClung. You're going to be like, oh. I encourage you to stick with it because I do think it is one of those movies that, taken as a whole, gives you a lot to think about.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Snubs, I would agree with Tragedy of Macbeth. I think that was. I'm going to throw something out. I think House of Gucci was fantastic. I don't know why.
You are in the minority, sir.
Yeah, I know, but there is nothing in House of Gucci that I don't see in Nightmare Alley. Like it's just a different approach to things. Like they're doing the thing, but it's an unusual, interesting, funny approach to this story. I don't know why people were so like, oh, it's so why is Jared Leto doing this? Some people had such a crazy reaction to Jared Leto, and then by this other side, they really love what other actors have done playing the weird kind of like the same people who hate Jared Leto are the same people who love John Malkovich in the Rounders. You got to make up your mind for God's sakes. Both of those things.
Well, okay.
I'm saying those
Rounders.
You could argue love those of are terrible accents both ways, is what I'm saying.
The love of Malkovich in Rounders is very like, this is so dumb. I love it. I don't think Malkovich was up for Best Supporting for Teddy KGB.
I'm gonna say something. That's probably like some people will get mad. Like like when you were a theater major. There was that dude in the theater school who gave no shits and everything he did was amazing. Like he would get up on stage and he would be like, I'm gonna do a 10-minute monologue as a silent clown, and you were like, this guy's fucking great, he could do anything. And then there was that other guy who wanted so badly to be the guy that didn't give a fuck, but clearly gave every fuck and was constantly like, hey guys, look what I can do, I'm cool too. Yes. Like, Jared Leto always strikes me as, hey guys, look, I'm the deal. But you're like, but every time it's like, we get it. And like, Malkovich is the guy that walks in and like spits on the stage and looks at everybody and says, that's right, and walks off, and you're like,
I dare you to challenge what I just did. Yeah.
And Leto's in the corner being like, why can't I do shit like that?
Now, I don't 100% agree with my friend's analysis here, but I understand his point of view overall. But yeah, anyway, let's keep going. We got a bunch of categories to get to here as we go along. Oh, real quick, got some super chats that have come in here. Chris Miner says, Clifford the Big Red Dog is a huge snub. Kidding, of course. But that Denis Villeneuve got snubbed for director again, and Rachel Zegler for actress. Coda deserves every nomination. 1,000% agree with those sentiments, Chris. Go ahead, Mike.
I have a problem with it. Wait, let me just maybe we could jump to director, because obviously with 10 nominees for film and 5 nominees for director, there's going to be 5 movies where the director didn't get nominated. But it is always a fascinating thing to me where you're just like, well, if you made one of the best movies of the year,
right,
it stands to reasons. I don't know. The Denny thing, look, we'll get into this with Spider-Man, the genre issue that the Academy Awards has and always has, which is, here's the movie that everybody in the world went to see and everybody loves, and it's a giant special effects bonanza that has spaceships and or dragons and or superheroes in it, and the Academy is like, that's not a real movie. Like, I'm glad that Dune made the cut. I'm glad that some of these movies are breaking through, but there still is just this barrier that, oh, well, these directors directed important films and Denny directed a space film, and like, that is always, I think that's why the Denny one, in addition to just the achievement of what Dune is, just sticks in all of our craws a little bit.
Maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's the hashtag. Oscar's so self-important. Maybe that's the hashtag you want to mess around with, because it's true. You're right. They do kind of play with that a little bit too much.
The hashtag Oscar's so self-important and the Oscar is so white. It's basically saying the same thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, let's just be real.
Ovidius 1979 says, I think Emilia Jones should have been nominated for Best Actress in Coda. Agreed. Yes, absolutely. We're going to get to Best Actor, Best Actress here in just a second. Let's swing over to Best Director. And ladies and gentlemen, I put the Streamlabs address there in the chat. I just pinned it there. It's right there above the screen, above Mike's head and Shannon's head there. It's also in the description of this video. So send in some donations. Send in your super chats. We'll get to them as you see. Let's get to Best Director here. Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. This marks Steven Spielberg has what did they say this is? He's been nominated 6 or 7 times. It's pretty incredible to have seen how many decades Steven Spielberg has been nominated for a Best Director Oscar, considering he started out with a couple of nominations in 1978 for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think it was Indiana or E.T., and then nothing until Schindler's List, and then he's been on a run ever since. So pretty incredible to see Spielberg nominated.
Did he get Did he not get nominated for The Color Purple?
Nope. He didn't get nominated. I looked it up this morning because I was trying to compare him with Denis Villeneuve, who has only been nominated once, and I just don't understand the bias towards him. Like, I didn't understand the bias when I was alive in the 1980s against Steven Spielberg. So I just didn't understand it at all. But I mean, let me go here first. I like this. I like Kenneth Branagh. Jane Campion as a female director getting a second nomination. I think that's the first time a female has gotten a second nomination as a director. Ryosuke Hamaguchi, great to see some international talent being highlighted here. Steven Spielberg, as I said, Kenneth Branagh, Paul Thomas Anderson. The film is so, I just can't even with that film. So when you're telling me that Denis Villeneuve can't get nominated for, if you're going to tell me that Paul Thomas Anderson did better in Licorice Pizza with his direction than Denis Villeneuve did in Dune, you got to get the fuck out of the room. I don't understand that logic at all. Gentlemen, you talk to me about the director for Coda didn't get nominated, and that is a way better film then Licorice Pizza. So what do you two think of these directors and the snub here for Denis Villeneuve? Shannon, I'll go to you first.
I mean, and I would throw in Joel Cohen as well, because again, I can't undersell my love for Tragedy Macbeth.
German expressionism in 2021, 2022. That is so difficult to pull off. Anyway, sorry.
That was like watching a James Whale monster movie almost. Yeah. I mean, it was just so well done. The what he did with the interpretation of the Weird Sisters, the witches. I thought it was awesome. And you know what? As much as I was not a big fan of Dune, I could sit there and watch it and be like, this is a monumental achievement.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the size of, you know, the tome that it's based on, and to see it up on screen, even though I did not connect with it, yeah. I could understand, like, I get why people are losing their minds over this movie. I mean, this is, and I'm excited to see the sequel. Even as the first one ended, I was kind of like, meh, okay. I want to see where it goes, though. I mean, how they closed the film, I thought, like, yeah, I can't wait to see how this works itself out. Yes, I'm with you, John. Paul Thomas Anderson, get the hell out of here. I would go back and retroactively take away all of his nominations. I just don't like his movie.
I'm a big PTA guy. Let me say that right off the bat. This is why I defended Phantom Thread to everybody.
Oh.
I loved Phantom. I saw it 3 times. I enjoyed the shit out of Phantom Thread. But this one was just, it felt like the afterbirth of Boogie Nights, Licorice Pizza. It felt like this is what one of the snow clones that was still in the thing, you know, and people just fall over.
Phantom Thread was like watching, we're about to turn this really mysterious and interesting corner, and the hallway just keeps getting longer. Oh my gosh, that movie, I couldn't take it.
It's like the end of a workout. They keep telling you the workout's going to end, and it never ends. Michael, talk to me. What do you think about these nominees, and what do you think about Villeneuve's snubs, as you alluded to here just a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is tough because you look at the list, and having not seen Licorice Pizza, given my opinion of other Paul Thomas Anderson films, as much as I want to just come in and be contrary for contrary's sake, I do think probably when I get to the end of the day, I'll be mad that Denis Villeneuve is not taking that slot.
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh, I'm very excited to watch Belfast. I think Kenneth Branagh is an amazing director. As I said with The Power of the Dog, aside from it being slow, for sure, it is gorgeous. And Jane Campion just sticks that landing so hard. Ryosuke Hamaguchi, I'm very excited to see Drive My Car. And I'm also excited that the Oscar director category has opened up into the foreign film category. That it's not just the, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's the more broad and representative the director category is for the benefit of all of us.
Absolutely.
Steven Spielberg is probably I'm a little bit torn because on the one hand, Steven Spielberg, to John's point, does at this point represent the old guard. Like when he was the E.T. guy back in the 80s, he was the new hotshot young director. True. Steven Spielberg is Hollywood. So Steven Spielberg, one of the most celebrated directors of cinema, period, directing a remake of one of the most celebrated musicals of all time, period, definitely is like, that's old school Oscars. So a part of me is like, hopefully this goes to somebody else, but also Steven Spielberg directing West Side Story really was my pick for the year. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. As far as anything, look, Dune might not be your cup of tea. Dune might be your favorite movie of the year. It doesn't matter. When you look at what Denis Villeneuve has done, whether that be Arrival, whether that be Blade Runner, the dude is the definition of a visionary director.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is directing movies on a scale and scope unlike what most other people, even people who are making sci-fi, fantasy, superhero movies, they're not touching what he is doing on just the scope, the scale, the vision he has, the way he sees the world. You can look at color, you can look at art direction, art design, the cinematography, and you can be like, this is a Denis Villeneuve movie. Yeah. And so to me, it's not even just the Dune of it all. It's like, this dude deserves to be a top contender. And so that's I do think he does belong in the best director category, especially when you look at the 5 who made it in and the 5 who didn't. When you look at the 10 films, it's like, yeah dude, he deserves his top slot for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, he broke the record. He is the first director to be nominated in six different decades. That's incredible. You talk about old guard, but it isn't like he's lost a step. West Side Story, you could argue, is maybe one of the most well-directed films he's had in 30 years, to be honest.
I would agree with that.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I came out, and I still feel this way. It was a little bit hyperbole when I came out, but like, I think that the Spielberg that we got in West Side Story, we haven't gotten since the 1-2 punch of Jurassic Park and Schindler's List.
Wow.
Like I'm not saying that he hasn't. I'm not saying he hasn't directed good movies. Spielberg is an amazing director. So you take any movie he's done between Jurassic Park and Schindler's List to now, and you're gonna have a well-directed, solid movie. There's Catch Me If You Can. There's a lot of great stuff in there. But to me, the wonder of those two movies, I'm like, this to me, sitting in West Side Story, I felt like that.
Well, no, let's real quick before we move on to the next category. Tick, Tick, Boom, not nominated for Best Picture, not nominated for Best Director for Lin-Manuel Miranda. I mean, is this a bit of a surprise? Why isn't the drum beat louder on the snub side of things and all these websites? I hardly see Tick, Tick, Boom being mentioned. Was this just a theater kid movie that no one else got?
It may have. I love Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I thought Tick, Tick, Boom was an amazing achievement. I think there's a couple of reasons. One, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like, this was his first outing as a director. And by the way, I don't mean that, and I don't mean that in any kind of negative way to him. I know. What he did in that movie, the directing he did, was absolutely spectacular. Yeah. But on the one hand, you could say, all right, well, he did amazing. It was his first outing as a director, and he's got many more things to go. The other challenge with Lin-Manuel Miranda is it's not like the dude is lacking for accolades. Yeah, like, I think that there is a level of like, Lin-Manuel Miranda star has been rising, and it keeps rising. Like, the dude deserves every bit of credit that he gets, but like, at a certain point, you're just like, all right, okay, so yes, Lin-Manuel Miranda did yet another. He's suffering from his own success. Yeah. If that makes sense. It's like, all right, Lin-Manuel Miranda did another fucking amazing thing in the musical world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprising no one.
Fair point. But I mean, we look at the nominees, it's 4 white people and an Asian person. You know, there was room for other people to be in here. Lin-Manuel Miranda would have been a nice nod to the Latino community and a well-deserved nomination. It isn't just a fucking token nomination. It would have been a well-deserved nomination. Aside from, there's nothing PTA did that I would argue Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't do better in Tick, Tick, Boom. So
here's my question to you, though. You, given your opinion of the other directors in the Best Director category, you clearly have one slot that you have open. Is that a Lin-Manuel Miranda slot, or is that a Denis Villeneuve slot?
Here's my. I would move PTA out. Ooh, that's a good question, Mike. I don't think I can answer that. Because I don't want to move Jane Campion out, but I mean, it didn't resonate with me the way it resonated with other people. So, and I like the nominee for Belfast, because I think more of these coming of age films need to be highlighted and focused, especially when they're so well done as Brana did in that movie. I mean, it is. Yeah. I can't wait for you to watch it. It's such a fucking incredible movie.
I'm curious to see other people. Like I mean, we're all biased. We all fucking met at a theater school. But I was such a Rent kid. Yeah. Who loved Rent so much. Yeah. Who made John Rocha go see Rent. And then I'm a huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan. And I already knew the music from Tick, Tick, Boom, because when I was a Rent kid, I went and listened to Tick, Tick, Boom. And so this movie was literally like made for me. Like, it was like Tick, Tick, Boom was like, give it to me on a platter. And I thought that Lin-Manuel Miranda nailed it. And I think the way he chose to direct it, I think the way he hopped back and forth from the stage performance that Andrew Garfield is doing into the life that he was living, I think they did such an amazing job. The musical numbers were so imaginative and amazingly well thought out. Like, I absolutely think Tick, Tick, Boom is one of the best pictures of the year. So particularly in the top 10 films, I think it's sort of like once I get through watching all of them, there will be another like, all right, I would have dumped these 3 and put Tick, Tick, Boom, but you know what I mean? Like, I think there's movies that I would slot in there for sure.
Yeah. So we moved that one out. I agree with you. All right, let's move on to Best Actor. Best Actress. Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Once again, 4 white women and 1 Latina actress here, 1 person of color here. When there was an opportunity for Rachel Zegler to slide in here, there was an opportunity to move some of the old guard, one of the old guard in, and move in Amelia Jones for what she did in Coda. So there's a number of snubs. Even Ruth Negga in passing. Certainly there were some snubs here when you look at this Best Actress category. Michael, what do you think about this category? Again, as it's listed here, Chastain, Coleman, Penelope Cruz, Nicole Kidman, Kristen Stewart.
I'm shocked Rachel Zegler's not nominated.
Yes.
Like, frankly, like, I'm like, particularly looking at this list, and every one of these women is an amazing actress, mostly. And I think that it is absolutely shocking to me when you look at what Rachel Zegler did in West Side Story that she did not make the cut into here. Yeah. I don't quite know who I would cut. Kristen Stewart, Spencer, not the best movie, really good performance. Penelope Cruz, I did not see Parallel Mothers. Olivia Colman is truly one of, like, Olivia Colman could read the phone book and she'll probably get an Oscar nomination. The woman is legitimately amazing. And Jessica Chastain, what she does in The Eyes of Tammy Faye is bonkers. Like, it is. And then Nicole Kidman, everybody in the world, including you two, was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Yeah. And Nicole Kidman just destroys that performance. She really is amazing. Like, it is really a sight to behold. I think. I don't know. I think that this category is definitely anybody's game. I don't know who the front runner is here. I think the Rachel Zegler snub is really, really apparent. Yeah. But yeah, this is one of those years, like this actress category in the Oscar pool. This is like, put on a blindfold and throw a dart.
Sorry, clarify. Ruth Negga was for supporting. I apologize for that. But you could throw in Lady Gaga. I mean, Gaga, I thought was a massive snub here. I loved her in House of Gucci. She was fantastic.
House of Rocha. House of Rocha.
Basically, I liked her better than I did in Star is Born. I thought she did better in this film than A Star is Born. So I was surprised by that snub as well. Shannon, go ahead.
So this is the one category that I've only seen one of the movies. I've only seen Being the Ricardos. And prior to watching it, you know, as I said many times, I'm like, I feel like Nicole Kidman is playing dress up right now. Right. And watching the film, I stand by it. I mean, it's an amazing performance that she's completely miscast in. That is my opinion. I think the idea that
you better stay out of AMC movie theaters.
Hey. She's not climbing off that screen to get me. And even if she could, she's walking very slow.
Oh my God.
No, I thought it was a great performance, and she was miscast. I mean, the idea that Cate Blanchett was originally supposed to play the role is like, that one. In terms of the other performances, I mean, yes, I thought Rachel Zegler was really, really impressive. Her last sort of speech at the end, which, you know, Tony Kushner, you know, did his take on, and it really serviced the performance. I mean, it was really, really spectacular. Like, I don't necessarily want to say kick one of these other actresses off, maybe Nicole Kidman, just because I haven't seen the performances. But yes, I think Rachel Zegler is a very noticeable absence from this list. From what I've heard, I think this is supposed to be Jessica Chastain's to lose, but I don't.
I think it is. I mean, I think if I had to guess, I'd say maybe she's is the one. It's the most. Her and Nicole Kidman have the most. I'd say showy performances, if that makes sense. Like those are like roles like playing Lucille Ball and playing Tammy Faye are like, hey guys, I'm acting for the rafters. Whereas the other performances are a bit more like I'm really grounded and real. Yeah. These are like, and not that they aren't grounded and real, but like these are definitely like this is a showcase for me. And so it really does break down to what you think of Nicole Kidman's showcase versus Jessica Chastain's showcase. Yeah. If that's the direction you're going to go for how you vote.
For me, it's Nicole Kidman's to lose. She's been winning the awards throughout this whole campaign. Kristen Stewart was a big surprise because she had been nominated, not even by SAG. Her own peers didn't nominate her for Best Actress. So that's a strong statement, ladies and gentlemen. So I was really surprised to see her nominated here. I saw a lot of critics A lot of writers grousing for her, campaigning for her. But that film was, oh my God, it was an emo kid making a student film with a very self-affected performance. I did not buy it at all. I didn't like her in the movie at all. But I just don't like Pablo's approach to film. Like Jackie, I didn't like Jackie either. And everyone was going crazy about Natalie Portman in that film as Jackie Onassis. She was as far away from Jackie Onassis as I am from the lead in Reacher. For God's sakes, I don't look nothing like that guy, and she looked nothing like Jackie, and there was nothing there that was evoking that spirit at all. Let me just put that out on the table. That's how I feel about it. But I get it. But the critics were like loving her, so her nomination was a bit of a surprise. But I would move Jessica Chastain because it just was too big of a performance, too crazy of a performance. And if you're going to complain about Jared Leto, but you're okay with Jessica Chastain, I've got to hear your arguments. I've got to understand how one caricature is better than another caricature in a way. So, I mean, it's not that she didn't bring life to the character. She did. Obviously, you could see that. You could sense that throughout the movie. But the movie itself was not that good. And she did what she could, but it wasn't for me. So Zegler should be in here. I would move Kristen Stewart out even. I would move Zegler in here. I would move Amelia Jones in here immediately to do this. And Penelope Cruz, again, I'll say that I tweeted this. If you haven't seen Parallel Mothers, it is one of the best Almodovar films in years. And she's incredible, telling a micro story about her and a friend of hers, or I guess a friend she's known, having a baby, each separately, and what happens with that, and how it connects up to the history of how Spain has treated people, and how Francisco Franco treated people, and how he killed all these people, and then unearthing these graves, unearthing secrets. It's so fantastic. Please go see it. And if you can if you're okay reading subtitles, for God's sakes. Also, thank you, Soul, for correcting me. She is Hispanic, not Latina. I sometimes get that confused in my head. So, that's respected. All right, let's move on here to Best Actor. Now we have Javier Bardem. Speaking of Penelope Cruz, this is her other half. Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog. Here we go. Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. One of the sole nominations for that movie. Will Smith for King Richard. Denzel Washington for Tragedy of Macbeth. Shannon, at least he got nominated for Tragedy of Macbeth. This feels like a two-person race, and ironically, two people of color. It feels like Will Smith's or Denzel's to lose. More likely Will Smith's. What do you think about the nominees overall, and who do you think is going to win? And do you have any snubs?
I think this list, predictable makes it sound like a negative, but I feel like these were the five that were going to get nominated. These were the five that had been talked about the most. I do think if Tick, Tick, Boom had gotten a little more love on the Best Picture side, I think Andrew Garfield is right up there in that conversation with Denzel Washington and Will Smith. Yeah. Looking at the performances, basically what I said about Nicole Kidman, with Javier Bardem, I completely take it back, because leading up to it, I was just like, I just don't see it. Watching his performance, I thought he was amazing. Yeah. I don't know if there's a world where if they would have put him in Best Supporting, even though it's called Being the Ricardos, if they would have put him in Best Supporting, if he would have had a better shot to win. But I thought Javier Bardem was magnificent in Being the Ricardos. Just so effective. Cumberbatch, again, I haven't finished Power of the Dog. I will go back and finish watching that movie. I hear he's fantastic. Yeah. Of the five, I do think Denzel Washington's is the best performance. Okay. But I hope Will Smith wins it. I mean, it's an eyelash that Denzel Washington is ahead of Will Smith, just because Denzel Washington, the text, I mean, it's the Shakespeare of it. It's a challenging role, and he was fantastic. But I really hope that this is the year that Will Smith wins. I mean, there had been some pushback when he didn't get nominated in the past. I know he didn't get nominated for Concussion. People had an issue with that, and I was like, no, he wasn't the right guy. Like, it was a fine performance that, again, he was miscast in. Like, that should have been like David Oyelowo. But this, from beginning to end with King Richard, you are just 100% on the ride with this guy. And even though I do think that Denzel Washington had the more challenging role, I hope it's Will Smith's.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I thought he was fantastic in Concussion, but I get it. I get you want to see. Nobody would have gone to see it if it's David Oyelowo. They had to cast to get people in the seats, and I think it was an important story to tell. So I'm glad to cast Will Smith. But I take your criticism. Mike, any thoughts here? Okay, so what are your thoughts here, rather, on these nominations? Who stands out? Who was snubbed, and who do you think is going to win?
Look, I think when people are talking about snub, the one snub that comes up, which I agree with, but also I'm just like, is Nicolas Cage in Pig.
Damn right. Damn right. Biggest snub.
Nicolas Cage's performance in Pig is a legitimately amazing performance in such a weird fucking movie. Like, Pig is not the type of thing that the Academy Award voters are going to be like, yes. But, like, you watch that movie, and even if you get to the end of that movie and you're like, this is a fucking weird movie, you can't deny that Nicolas Cage is committed like only Nicolas Cage can be to a role. Yeah. So I do think that's a snub. I think I'm the opposite of Shannon a little bit. I think Javier Bardem's performance in Being the Ricardos is absolutely fantastic. I think he is, as always, an amazing actor. I don't think it's the showcase that Nicole Kidman's is. And out of this category, if I were to replace anybody and put Nicolas Cage in there, he's the one I'd replace. Like, I think what he did is amazing in Being the Ricardos, but I think he's been more amazing. I think Javier Bardem has had roles that really have featured what he can do. And in Being the Ricardos, he was great. But especially when you look at these other 4 performances, I feel like his is the one that you're like, yeah, I mean, he deserves that, I guess. But Denzel is Denzel. Will Smith, absolutely amazing. Andrew, look, I wouldn't count Andrew Garfield out only because dude is, well, he's having a moment. I mean, first of all, getting nominated for Best Actor category in a musical is a rarity. It almost never happens at all. So the fact that his acting, in addition to singing and everything else, was at a level that he made the cut is actually really, really impressive. Yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch is absolutely amazing. So much has been made of his very method process on set, to the point that I think people are kind of like annoyed by it, that I don't know if that's gonna like weigh into things. I do think this is probably Will Smith's year to lose. I think that with the tragedy of Macbeth, the tragedy of it is that the movie isn't getting more attention. So I think that Denzel and Andrew Garfield are both amazing performances in movies that aren't getting the most attention. Denzel, one of the most celebrated actors of our time. Andrew Garfield, clearly having a moment where we're all in love with Andrew Garfield. So I think Will Smith is the front runner, but I think those two are kind of neck and neck right behind him. I think it's Will Smith to lose as well. It's a phenomenal performance. If you guys haven't seen King Richard, it's not only a great sports movie, it's just a powerfully uplifting film. And it pulls no punches. And there are some really hard moments, some tough moments. And you see this guy navigate. He's not an easy guy to like. He is not an easy guy to like, but he's an unusual guy. That's why Johnny likes the movie so much.
That's right. No one became famous playing it safe. No one changed the world playing it safe. Let me just put that out there. And so it's an incredible journey that he goes on, and everyone involved in it is really bringing their A game, acting wise, from the actresses who play Venus and Serena to Aunjanue Ellis, who plays his wife there in the movie. Just great stuff. And it's some of the best John Bernthal I've seen this side of the Punisher. And even Tony Goldwyn has a fantastic role when he's in this thing as well. So just all around, King Richard, I can't recommend it enough. See it. It's on HBO Max. Go and enjoy yourselves watching that movie for sure. All right, before we move on, let's hit some Streamlabs here. Travis Earl says, do you think the Academy will pull a Return of the King and wait until Dune Part 2 to give Dune all the Oscars if it delivers?
It's not a bad, like, if you were to give Denny the director nomination next year, and Dune was amazing, the second part of the movie is amazing, and everybody goes crazy, and it gets all the awards next year, I think we'll all be like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, I think it'll hit the history, looking back, will be like, that was the way it was supposed to be. Right now it's still sort of annoying, but I think that's a good point. That could happen depending on how the second half of the movie is received. I mean, a lot more is going to happen in the second half of the movie, arguably, than the first half. So
it's difficult to tell, because again, not knowing the story. Fellowship of the Ring came out and just clicked. With audiences and with critics. I mean, it had Ian McKellen was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So it had such a tidal wave of support behind it by the time Return of the King came out. And because it was released 3 years in a row, So it never left. Lord of the Rings never left the conversation for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see when Dune, the sequel, comes out. And I don't feel like it resonated with audiences the way the Lord of the Rings did.
No, it didn't, for sure.
Okay, but so it'll be interesting to see how audiences react to it, and whether or not that will dictate the critical reception to it.
I thought it was a masterpiece, and I like it more than any of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I'd rewatch that film over any of the Lord of the Rings movies in a fucking heartbeat. Let me just put that on the table. I think so you're telling Licorice Pizza wouldn't have been nominated if we knew it was there was a second half to it? Bullshit. Nominate the films that come out when they come out. That kind of waiting around crap just drives me nuts. Soul asked a really nice question. Soul's one of the head people in my Patreon. She says, do you think being on Apple hurt Tragedy of Macbeth? I say no, because Coda got nominated for Best Picture, and that was on Apple TV Plus and didn't have the push behind it and the name brand recognition that something like Frances McDormand and Denzel Washington and Joel Coen has with something. I think this was about Shakespeare, and I think he shot it as a German expressionist film from the 1920s, like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and those kinds of films from back then. He went with that idea and that look and the noir feel, and that just isn't working for a lot of people nowadays. I think that at the end of the day was the reason. Plus, it's Shakespeare, and a lot of people feel like Shakespeare is highfalutin, even though he wrote it for us low-rent motherfuckers in the world. So just a little knowledge for you. He wrote it for you low-rent motherfuckers in the world. He didn't write it for John Gielgud and these highfalutin fools. He wrote it for those who got blood and guts and barbed wire and broken glass in their stomachs. That's who he wrote it for. Just giving you a heads up. What do you guys think?
Shakespeare was the Tarantino of his day.
Thank you.
That is not wrong. It is accurate. Yeah. I do think, and I don't know if it's just tragedy, but I do think a bigger thing that is happening is that with so many of these big movies basically being on streaming, coming out in big cities like LA for like a couple weeks, so they get that I was in a theater for a little bit, but mainly it's on streaming, makes the movies in a way more accessible. But because we have so many options between Netflix and Prime and HBO Max and Hulu and everything else, like I do think that some of these smaller movies, more experimental movies are getting lost in a shuffle in a way that they don't. Even when the multiplex, you go to see like there's 20 theaters and 15 of them or whatever the Marvel movie is, you still have those 5 theaters that are showing that other thing, and they're all sort of out there for you to see. And, I think last year this was true. This year it's still true. A lot of these movies are a little bit like you're doing like a treasure hunt on your Apple TV to like hunt them down and find where to watch them. And I do think that hurts a little bit. And when you add in black and white, German expressionism, Shakespeare, I think it's like there's several levels of you're like, well, I've got my Monday night open. What am I going to watch? This Licorice Pizza movie or the black and white German expressionistic Shakespeare film? You're like, well, I'm going to watch Licorice Pizza. You're probably wrong according to these two, but that's what you're going to choose.
Alex Tornai says, I'd take out Don't Look Up from Best Picture. Decent movie, but not on the same level as the other Best Picture nominated films. And Kristen Stewart is my choice for Best Actress. Alex, you're not alone. Some people liked her. A lot of people. I mean, most people that I'm talking to are saying that they agree with John on the movie. Yeah. Like they're like, this movie is not it. This is not my jam. But that her performance in that movie is the only thing that makes it worth watching. That's the general consensus that I'm taking away from it. So it doesn't surprise me that she was nominated and that the movie was not. Ironically, exactly what they say about Isa Tammy Faye. Not a great movie, but she stood out. And that's happened before for winners. I mean, Lincoln is not a good movie in my opinion, but Daniel Day-Lewis, an incredible performance as Lincoln, otherworldly performance as Lincoln, to be honest with you. All right, let's see. We got another one. I Am Too Fly Cam says, always good to see the Geek Buddies. Could not care less for the awards, but can't wait for the Boba Fett finale review. Cheers. Thank you, I Am. We are waiting. Oh, that's the night.
Do you see that new poster they released this morning?
Yes, I did.
Did you see that thing? I know we're talking about the Oscars, but holy shit, that poster. God damn. Just got to get that out there.
Fair enough. He got it out of his system.
Listen, 24 hours from now, we'll all know what happened, and we're going to have a lot of opinions. So
it's going to be crazy. That's for sure. FJ Lopez says, hey, guys, hope your day is going great. When you watch film, what exactly do you look for that makes you say, I like/love this film? And do the characters have to be related to you in some way. So not related, obviously, by blood or anything, but connecting with you. Yeah. What do you guys think? Can you answer this real quick before we move on to the next category here? When you watch film, what exactly do you look for that makes you say, I love this film? And do the actors have to be related to you in some way or relatable?
Cute butts.
Oh boy. America's ass. Is that what you're looking for?
There, you got a cute butt. Best picture. Look at those booties. I think I always love seeing myself represented on film. I think we all do. I think we all love seeing, particularly if you are not a white, straight, cisgender male, as Shannon is. Shannon's had plenty of representation. But everybody else in wherever you feel a little bit different, when you do see yourself represented, it's great. Is that the only indicator? Definitely not. I think what I love is seeing directors who are not like me, not related to me at all, tell stories about characters that are not like me and not related to me at all, and making me really empathize, sympathize, see the world in a different way. I think that's always a big plus, but I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all thing. I can look at something like The Power of the Dog and go, this might not be something that's ever going to be on my top 10 movie list. It doesn't blow me out of the water, but it's interesting and it has really stuck with me. And I've talked to a lot of people who have seen it. When you do make it to the end and you're like, let's talk about how this movie fucked with you. But would I put that above Tick, Tick, Boom as an awesome musical that was filmed in a way I didn't see, or Spider-Man No Way Home, which is kind of the movie of the year? No. So, it's all over the place. But definitely a strong point of view. I guess if I was going to pick one thing, whatever kind of story you're telling, a strong point of view is always better than a not strong point of view.
Fair enough. Shannon, thoughts on or how would you answer this question?
I mean, I think it's just kind of ineffable. I mean, as performers, as people who work in front of a camera, we tend to be very egocentric.
Ineffable Shakespeare? Is that what you said? Ineffable? Okay.
If a story can make me stop thinking about me for a second, that's when I'm invested. If I in a I didn't say it was easy.
Oh boy. Morning Geek Buddies, frisky all day and all night. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Also, if a movie, if I can separate myself being like, oh, I would have liked to have played that character, that's how I know that the movie is that I'm just on board for this journey. I mean, I do agree with Vogel, that strong point of view is very important. I mean, when an actor, someone who, again, I'll use Will Smith as an example here, when an actor can make me forget that he's Will Smith.
Yeah.
That he's not Will Smith right now. He's the character. That's always, and I think the more exposed you get as a celebrity, that becomes harder and harder. I can't remember the last time Tom Hanks did that, and that's no knock on his abilities. Mm-hmm. It's just Tom Hanks is just so ingrained in my head as Tom Hanks. I think Captain Phillips is probably the last time Tom Hanks did that.
But I do think that there's two different types of celebrity / movie star, and they're both equally talented and equally good. And there's the one that you are playing 90% of the time, you're playing a version of yourself, but you know how to connect with an audience and be George Clooney, Tom Hanks, Will Smith for the most part. I mean, has definitely each one of them in their ways have stepped out of their box. But Sandra Bullock is like this. Sandra Bullock is an amazing actress, can do a lot of things. But these are people that when we go see them in the movies, we love seeing them play the type of person that we have connected with on the screen, and we love them. We want that we connect with them, and they just know how to connect with us. And then you have your Robert De Niro's and your Meryl Streeps, where you're like, I don't know what you're going to be, but I know you're going to 1000% inhabit that.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis is another example of that as well. You have no idea where he's going to go, and it's fascinating. And and I agree. For me, it's about, I'm very lucky that my parents kind of pushed me to watch other stuff, right? I mean, there was, when I was a young kid, it was watching this stuff that was there, mostly, of course, white led, but they were them taking me to go see Mexican movies in DC, go see other things. I had black friends, so I was, what are these movies that you watch that haven't been hitting the mainstream? So being introduced to it's about developing your thing. So when I was very fortunate in that way. So for me, It's about, can you wow me? And can I connect to the universality of what you're going through? No matter what your culture is, no matter what your heritage is or whatever, even if it's in subtitles. I mean, I've seen Swedish films, Polish films. I've seen Russian films, French films, Chinese, Japanese, all of it. It's about connecting to the journey. And if it's out there, like Parasite, you gotta shock the shit out of me or wow me, and then I become an observer, because I like to watch people. Then it becomes that. So I think that's all instinct. You have to have that instinctive thing inside of you to seek that kind of stuff out, I think, and that's what usually makes the difference, for sure. And just to make sure Mike explodes here, there you go. There's your Book of Boba Fett.
I mean, look at it. Look at it. That is something that like a year and a half ago, we would have been like, this is a beautiful made up thing that would never actually, there's no way this could happen in real life. There's no way this will ever happen, but wouldn't this be nice? Yeah, this is Patton Oswalt on Parks and Rec being like, all right, it's the filibuster. Let me tell you the story of when Ahsoka Tano met Luke Skywalker. Like, there's the Hutts, like Black Cursitan. Like, it is insanity that this is a real thing that exists.
Yeah.
God.
You know what's crazy is there's so much going on here that you don't even notice that Baby Yoda is down there at the bottom. Like, there's so much that even Yoda at the end is just like part of the overall landscape and not even in the central middle part of the poster. So
I also love, like, I was going through the poster, I'm like, oh man, it's everyone from the show. And I was like, wait, who's that little guy at the bottom on the, oh, it's Danny Trejo.
Yeah, it's Danny Trejo. Even
hey guys, it's everyone you love in Star Wars plus Danny Trejo.
Even Stephen Root's in there at the back. So, yeah, Cobb Vanth's in there, Travis.
Cobb Vanth's in there. Cobb Vanth's in there.
All right, we've done what? Best actress, best actor. Let's move to best supporting actor. Here's Kieran Hines for Belfast, Troy Kotsur for Coda, Jesse Plemons for The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith-McPhee for The Power of the Dog as well. A lot of people surprised with the Jesse Plemons nomination. My friend Jeff Snyder said he was basically like watching paint dry during that whole movie, so it doesn't make sense to me why he's nominated. But really great to see Troy Kotsur getting nominated, but no nomination for Jamie Dornan. Kieran Hines getting nominated instead, or Jesse Plemons over Jamie Dornan for what he did in Belfast. And Jamie Dornan is fantastic in Belfast, so I'm really surprised by this overall. Shannon, thoughts on this?
Biggest snub of the Oscars for me in this category. Okay. Ben Affleck in The Tender Bar.
Agreed. 1,000%.
How did he not get nominated? I mean,
good in that movie. Yeah.
I mean, and I think I said this both to Vogel and Rocha separately over text, but watching that movie, I'm like, there was a light behind his eyes that we haven't seen in a decade. Yeah. I feel like, and just such an effortless performance from Ben Affleck. I was kind of surprised, like, and I think it was deserved, but I was surprised to see J.K. Simmons from Being the Ricardos in there. Yeah. I feel like he had not really gotten a lot of attention for that role, but the scene between he and Nicole Kidman in the bar where they kind of take a little break, fantastic scene. Like, J.K. Simmons is one of those guys that I feel like we're going to see him, like, he's going to be 95 years old and getting nominated, because he's just so easy to watch. Power of the Dog, I can't speak to it. I haven't seen it. I didn't get I think I saw Jesse Plemons. I don't think I got to Cody Smith-McPhee. But Troy Kotsur, agreed. Really, really great performance. Sad to see that Marlee Matlin didn't get her just desserts for Best Supporting Actress, but I thought he was dynamite. And finding out afterwards, after watching Coda, that he was one of the technical consultants who came up with the Tusken Raider language in The Mandalorian season 2. It was like made me love him even more.
Yeah. Mike, thoughts on this one?
I mean, look, it's a little bit the double power of the dog is interesting. Jesse Plemons, I would question whether he belongs in, and I love Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
I would question whether he belongs in this category for this role.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Cody Smith-McPhee. I think, especially if Power of the Dog sweeps.
Yeah.
Cody Smith-McPhee will definitely win over Jesse Plemons if he does. But the supporting categories are always sort of total crapshoots. This is where comedy performances made it into the Oscars before they made it anywhere else. Like, this is where you can have that thing that is just a complete outlier make it in. But yeah, I think out of these and what I've seen, I've not like Coda and Belfast I've not seen, so it's kind of hard to weigh in on one of those. But out of what I've seen and kind of how I think things will go, I would put my money on Cody Smith McPhee.
Yeah, Cody Smith, he's been winning all the awards in the smaller awards ceremonies or awards categories here. So he's been winning those. So no surprise. For me, I like it overall. I mean, J.K. Simmons does a great job. He does have that one role or one moment there. For me, yeah, Jesse is the one that you want to move out. I don't understand how that happened. And unfortunately, once again, it's 5 white guys, right? Am I wrong on this? It's all 5 white guys. So, I know Troy Katsouris, I put that in a separate category, obviously, because he's deaf. So it's great to see him getting nominated here. But you've got 4 of the white, and it's funny because I don't know if there's anyone else who was snubbed. Jared Leto, another white guy, and I really would have liked to have seen him getting in here just to piss a lot of people off who didn't like him in the film. And then I would have liked to have seen Bradley Cooper. As much as I hate Licorice Pizza, and I do not like Licorice Pizza, Bradley Cooper is a standout in that movie. And look, Alana Haim does a really good job as well. I'm not going to bash Alana Haim, but if you watch what Sean Penn did and you compare that to Bradley Cooper in that movie, that tells you the difference in a pitch here. And Cooper is absolutely bringing some great fires as the manic, insane, real life John Peters. So I would have been okay with that nomination from that movie. Of anybody, I would have been okay with him. And I would have blown a gasket this morning if Alana Haim was nominated, but not Rachel Zegler. You would have seen me go insane. So yeah, it's a good list of nominees for sure. All right, let's see. Best Supporting Actress, Mike. We have Jessie Buckley.
There's only one answer to this, by the way. There's one answer to this category, and if that's not the answer, I'm closing my computer.
Fair enough. Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. I'm imagining that's the answer Michael's talking about. Judi Dench, the Dame Judi Dench for Belfast. Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, joining her husband Jesse Plemons in a nominee here. As a nominee, 2 couples were nominated this year with Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, and Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem. And then Ingenue Ellis for King Richard, which a lot of people felt might not happen. So some surprises here. Jessie Buckley is a bit of a surprise overall, Michael, and people felt that Judi Dench was a little bit of a surprise as well. And Ingenue Ellis, kind of nice this year, sliding in here, a little bit of a surprise as well. The snubs, people felt Ruth Negga, as I mentioned earlier, her not being nominated for this, and Kaitrana Bayalf for, I hope I'm saying that right, for Belfast. So thoughts, Mikey, on this group of nominees?
Ariana DeBose.
Yeah,
Ariana DeBose.
Okay.
I cannot, first of all, to take on an iconic role like Anita, when the woman who won the Oscar for Anita is in the movie with you, and still be probably the most iconic part of the movie, is amazing.
Yes.
Her singing's amazing. Her dancing is amazing. Her acting is off the charts in that movie. When you watch, there's a 10-minute behind the scenes thing that was on YouTube about the making of West Side Story and the casting of it. And Steven Spielberg, they're kind of going through the casting process. And he's talking about when Ariana DeBose came in, and he said that when she came into the room to audition for, they saw so many, they saw way more Marias, but they saw all of these Anitas. And Ariana DeBose came in, and he was like, there was just this energy that she had in the room. And I knew that when you put her in front of the camera was going to multiply that tenfold, that the energy she was giving off in the room was going to just go off the charts. And that's what she has. I mean, if you, not just here, but if you've seen her in Schmigadoon, if you even saw her on Prom on Netflix, she just has this natural charisma.
Yeah.
And every expression she makes, you can read every moment that she's giving you. She is so fantastic. She's the best part of this movie. And as amazing as some of these other performances are, I would guess she's going to run away with this category.
Yeah. Shannon, I don't think, have you seen Lost Daughter? Do you know if you've seen Lost Daughter? Have you seen
I have not.
Okay,
I have not.
So thoughts on these nominees overall? Jessie Buckley being I love Jessie Buckley, certainly fantastic actress in anything she's in, a very unusual actress. What did you think of these list of nominees? Do you have a favorite, and who was snubbed here?
I mean, I'm with Vogel. It's DeBose's to lose. she again just magnetic on screen. And I did not put two and two together that she was Tate from Schmigadoon.
Oh,
But
right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, she was fantastic. And I don't want that to diminish Ingenue Ellis's performance, because she was such a grounding force in that movie, and watching her relationship with Richard, it was just really, really lovely performance.
That scene in the kitchen. That scene in the kitchen.
Yeah. But also knowing how much the Academy loves Judi Dench,
Yeah.
and knowing how much John will lose his mind, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, is there a world where Judi Dench wins? Even though that is not where I would vote.
Jesus Christ. I mean, we saw Hopkins beat Chadwick Boseman last year.
Yep.
There is a world, Mike.
Listen, if Judi Dench didn't win for Cats, I don't think she's going to win for this. By the way, you take some mushrooms. She's the best part of that movie.
Okay. All right. No, we're saying you should. We're not saying you should.
I'm not saying you should, but if you did.
All in the Game is absolutely correct. Jessie Buckley was very good in the latest season of Fargo. I would argue the only good thing in the latest season of Fargo, because that was Chris Rock. I was cheering for you, bud. But it didn't really work out, and she was great. Jessie's so unsettling in that as that nurse. Oh my God. But yeah, I like this list nominated. I would say, Rebecca Hall, I don't think Passing was as good as, say, what Olivia Wilde did with Booksmart, but I do think her showcasing this film or highlighting these two actresses, highlighting the story, and Ruth Negga is someone that people need. The Academy needs to start paying more attention to Ruth Negga. She is delivering, from Preacher to Loving to this movie. She is delivering some phenomenal performances as an actress, and hopefully there's that. She's like chipping away, and there's that one role that's coming that it's gonna just explode, and she's gonna get all kinds of love for it and get nominated for it. Overall, we shall see for sure. All right, let's move on to Best Animated Feature. I know we're over an hour, so let's roll through these real quick. Best Animated Feature: Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, Raya, and The Last Dragon. Mikey, thoughts on this?
So I have not seen Flea, but I'm a little bit conflicted with this category. Surprisingly, I mean, Luca is a beautiful movie. Luca annoys me because it went right up to the boundary of this is a gay coming of age story, and then they were like, but it's not really, and I'm like, it is. Raya and the Last Dragon, I very much enjoy. I think it's a beautiful movie. I don't think it's a Best Picture. Okay. Encanto is one of my favorite Disney movies in recent memory. It's amazing. I've watched it 95 times. I know all the songs. Like, it is absolutely great and absolutely deserves to win Best Picture.
Yeah.
But so does Mitchells versus the Machines. Yeah. Mitchells versus the Machines.
I've resigned myself to this.
It is so beautiful, so funny. It's just that Lord and Miller magic. It is, we are going to give you a movie that is stupid funny and makes you laugh at the most ridiculous stuff, and also has fucking emotional gut punches coming out of left field, and you're not ready for it, and all of a sudden you're crying. Like, it is so good. It is so great to have a big studio feature animated film have a lead who is queer. Like, there's so much that is just beautiful about this movie, and it's great. It's one of the best films of the year. So it's really tough because Mitchells versus the Machines represents a new kind of anime. Not like it was like groundbreaking, but visually the way they kind of incorporated puppetry and 2D animation and all this stuff, like and it doesn't look like anything else. It has a really clear visual style that is distinctive, and it just, you get to the ending of that movie and it just delivers. Like, it sets up a bunch of pins and expectations and it knocks them down in the best way. Vocal performances are amazing, but Encanto is fucking Encanto.
Yeah.
Like, it has, not even just with the songs, although I believe as of today, every song in the movie is somewhere on the Billboard 100. Like, they are all in there now. Yeah. So Encanto is the type of Disney movie that we should be rewarding. It's amazing. But Mitchells versus the Machines is so good, I actually don't know which one I want to win.
Yeah, someone mentioned, could there be a tie? Could there be a tie? I would
Just
be
give it to them both.
I would be happy with a tie, to be honest with you. Shannon, you're looking at this list of animated features that are nominated. What stands out for you, and who do you see winning here?
I mean, Encanto wins. Like I don't
You
even
think so?
think that's not even a doubt. I think Encanto.
I don't know.
I think Encanto has it tied up.
Okay.
That being said, I love Luca. I mean, I think Luca is such a sweet movie. I love the Massimo character. I love the villain, which is Visconti, I think is his name. I love the character work in that movie. And the fact that Maya Rudolph, I believe, is the Luca's mom in it, and the fact that she's also in the Mitchells versus the Machines.
She's the mom in both.
Yes. The Mitchells versus the Machines is my favorite animated movie of the year. And kind of by far. Like when that came out, I couldn't stop talking about it. I couldn't stop trying to show it to people. Right. But I think Encanto is a locomotive. Like you're not going to stop that movie.
Wow. Does it feel like Across the Spider-Verse? Does it feel like, or Into the Spider-Verse? Does it feel like this is that kind of film where like it's been the groundswell for it has been sort of like people went to see it initially, certainly enjoyed it, but it's just built into this a steamroll engine and got that win. Do you sense the same thing happening with the content with We Don't Talk About Bruno, with people coming out more and more and discovering it here on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Do you think
it's because of Disney Plus?
Yeah. Okay.
Here's I'll say this as a unabashed Disney fan. Like,
yeah.
I am an absolute Disney stan, like whatever you want to call me, I am. But what Into the Spider-Verse had, Into the Spider-Verse had the groundswell that like Encanto has. Yeah. But what Into the Spider-Verse also had is it was so different. And it came out of Sony Animation. And I think that in the people that are voting in this category, there's almost an expectation that Disney or Pixar is going to take it every year because Disney and Pixar are working at such a high level. So that when something comes out that is really deserving that's not Disney or Pixar, I think it does get a lot of attention. And I think Into the Spider-Verse being as good as it was, having such a different visual style as it did, people were like, okay, good, let's give it the attention. Right. And Encanto definitely has the locomotive. Like it is popular and has no signs of slowing down. But Mitchells versus the Machines, everybody wants to see more movies that have pushed character design, different looks, try different things, and it's checking all of those boxes. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that Encanto has it locked. We'll see. But like, I honestly, it'll be like we'll get that Oscar ballot, and I will be like, and that'll be, I don't know which one I'm gonna choose.
I do want to say a couple things in my thoughts here. Because I'm going back a little bit. Ariana DeBose, yes, she's absolutely the odds on. She deserves it. I hope she wins it. Absolutely. And staying in the West Side Story camp, Mike Feist. I thought Mike Feist should have been nominated for Ren. He was great for Riff, rather. He was great as Riff. I went into that film going, "What's this skinny little kid? Please get out! That's no Russ Tamblyn." And then I walked in there and I was blown away by what I liked him way more than Ansel Elgort. I thought he brought more menace and ferocity and electricity to his performance, the same way Ariana DeBose did as well. She was so commanding and powerful. And that scene with her and Rita Moreno singing together or talking together in the scene afterwards, whoo, man, what a powerful. And this could be the Joker type of thing where we have yet another thing where two separate people win Oscars for the same character, which is fantastic to see in something like this. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents there. Animated wise, of course I want Encanto to win. I think Lord and Miller are going to get to do a number of animated films. I don't know how many.
As opposed to that Lin-Manuel Miranda guy.
I'm just saying, as opposed to Encanto, I don't know how much that, because that isn't, Manuel Miranda is not the director of that film.
No, right? He's not.
That's what I'm saying. That team might not get a chance to do it. And people who've seen my Twitter, you know how emotional I got watching that movie. So obviously for me, as a son of South Americans, that is absolutely the choice I would take. Because I think Mitchell's is a fantastic film. And I hate that it's nominated in the same year because it's equally deserving. It really is. So I agree with Michael. I can't choose, and it's I choose, but I don't know who's going to win. I really don't.
This year reminds me of the year that Toy Story 3 and How to Train Your Dragon came out.
Oh,
yeah.
Good points.
And by the way, I still don't know which one I think is more deserving out of those two.
Wow. Okay. I do. All right, screenplay. Here we go. Best original screenplay. Belfast, written by Brana. Don't Look Up by Adam McKay with David Sirota. King Richard by Zach Balin. Licorice Pizza for Paul Thomas Anderson. And The Worst Person in the World, written by Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier. Do I dare ask if either one of you have seen that Norwegian film, The Worst Person in the World? Dare I ask? But what do you guys think of this set of nominees here? Let me put it back up on the screen. Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and Worst Person in the World. Yeah, Mike, you wanted to say something? Go ahead, please.
I when you get to this level of categories, I think it's sort of like this is where you start to see which way things are going to sway towards the big win. Like I kind of feel like this will either be, and don't get mad at me because I'm not saying I'm rooting for it. I think it'll either be King Richard or Licorice Pizza.
Okay.
I think that what people who like Licorice Pizza like about it is that style, that kind of vibe. And so if you like it, that's what you're going to do. And if King Richard is the movie that's going to kind of take it, I think that's the one that's going to go. Maybe. That would be my guesses.
Okay. Shannon?
Honestly, I would go with Don't Look Up.
Okay.
For this one. I think as much as I loved King Richard, I thought the script behind Don't Look Up was probably more interesting. Like watching how they weave together this tale is essentially, climate change, about climate change denying and the way that the way that politicians are able to weaponize the public opinion. That's where Don't Look Up takes it for me. I mean, I think King Richard is the superior film, but in terms of screenplay, I think Don't Look Up, that's where I would vote.
All right, fine. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably correct. I don't think I'm going to be happy with whoever wins unless it's King Richard, to be honest with you. Or Belfast. But I think Belfast is such a simple story. I'd be really surprised. There's no real, how can I say? There's no King Richard scene in the kitchen. There's no J.K. Simmons in the bar with Nicole Kidman scene in that film. There's just some really great coming of age, powerful moments that you see in the movie, but the conversations are the standard stuff where you see a family possibly breaking up, those kind of conversations. There's not that one conversation or one scene that you're like, my God, the writing in this is stellar, but I could see them falling for Licorice Pizza. I could see them going for Don't Look Up, certainly because it's quote unquote liberal Hollywood, which isn't as liberal as people think. I could totally see them going that direction. For people who are mad that movie is getting as much crap as it's getting in a controversial way for what it's doing. So yeah, that's what I would say. All right, let's move on to Best Adapted Screenplay here as we're rounding out our nominees. Coda by Shion Heder. Drive My Car here by Ryusuke Hamaguchi and Takamase Oe. Hope I'm saying that right. Dune, screenplay by John Spates and Denis Villeneuve and Eric Roth, obviously based on the Frank Herbert novel Lost Daughter here, written by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And, Maggie Gyllenhaal not nominated for Best Director here as well, but at least getting nominated for her screenplay. And Power of the Dog, written by Jane Campion. This is notable for the snub here for West Side Story. Tony Kushner adapting that film and it not getting nominated here. So you look at the Best Adapted Screenplay lists here, Shannon. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I definitely would probably take. Coda would be my movie,
right?
But I do think the absence of Tony Kushner is very noticeable. The way that they were able to change some of the story without changing it was really great. I mean, again, I haven't seen Power of the Dog, can't speak to it. I guess this would have been for Best Original, but it was interesting that Being the Ricardos got no. Aaron Sorkin got no notice this year.
Being the Ricardos,
After
somebody
Chicago 7.
at Carbon Health, go over to Aaron Sorkin's house and check on him because I think he's not in a good place this morning.
Yeah, after Trial of the Chicago 7, the Academy was like, "All right, we need a break. We need a break from the rat-a-tat dialogue." Coda would be my pick, but my guess is that it will go to Power of the Dog.
Okay, all right, Mike, what do you got in this category? Let me bring it up again. What do you see? What do you think?
Well, first I want to say that I think that Dune is going to get ignored.
Yes.
And I think that it's a shame because taking one of the seminal pieces of sci-fi fiction and translating it to the big screen in a way that, to Shannon's point, maybe not as accessible as some other movies are, but like, that's the book. Like, that is, they adapted it, and they adapted it a lot better than other versions have adapted it. So I think that it's going to get ignored, but I think it's a shame, and I am glad it got nominated. Again, this is one of those, like, let's see the way things are going to go, but I would put my money on The Power of the Dog.
Yeah, it seems to me like Power of the Dog, this is the place where it's going to get it for sure. But I'm incredibly pissed that West Side Story is nominated. But because if you think you can take a classic and then use the original, I think Arthur Lawrence is the original writer of the play that the musical was based on, and mix these two together and create what you create here in that movie. I think, to me, I'm a little upset that it wasn't nominated. And look, I would love Coda to pull an upset here. I would love Coda to pull an upset here, but I don't see it happening. I think you're right. Power of the Dog is worth. I mean, it's 14 nominations. It's got to win something. For God's sake.
I think the Tony Kushner of it all, if I were to play the contrary voice, or what I think the people's thinking are, is like, look, West Side Story is West Side Story. The songs are what make West Side Story great, and the songs were the songs, and we go to see these big songs, and Tony Kushner went in and he changed stuff around, but kind of to Shannon's point, the thing that you should give Tony Kushner credit for is that the thing that also dings him, which is they didn't drastically rewrite the story. They actually took the story and gave it context and gave it a specific time and place and reason for being, and brought out a lot of the things that made West Side Story very relatable to us today. But he didn't go and drastically rethink West Side Story or do something that was bold, arguable with the character of anybody's. They did do something bold, but like not anything that like really blew everybody out of the water. And so I think almost the fact that he and Spielberg did such a good job of making it feel like West Side Story, but feel new and different, is actually the thing that prevents it from being in the category, because it still felt like West Side Story. It
did. But I will say the fact that they made it a more Latino or Hispanic based, had a different angle, changed some events around to make it fit that and tell that story a little bit clearer. I hear you, but I do think they made the change. But I hear you that it didn't like resonate as powerfully as maybe it should have. Soul asks an interesting question. She says, why do women get writing nominations more than director nominations? That's a great thing you're bringing up. It's because a lot of women don't get the opportunity to direct these kind of incredible films, or get passed over by the Academy for these nominations. Jane Campion, as I said, first time ever a woman has been nominated twice. Spielberg's been nominated for 6 decades. I mean, that's the difference here when you're looking at it. And so maybe they default to the fact that women are writing these things, so they want to recognize more women in those categories. But it's a valid complaint. So it's about the opportunity, right? Getting the opportunity, and hopefully that seems to be changing, and we shall see going down the road. Any thoughts on that?
Was Catherine Bigelow not nominated twice?
She was only nominated for what else would she have been nominated for? It was just
Zero Dark 30 and the Jeremy Renner movie with Anthony Mackie. Didn't Catherine Bigelow direct that?
Hurt Locker. That's what she
The
wanted.
Hurt Locker.
Oh, my bad. Hold on. All right,
I think Catherine Bigelow was nominated twice.
Oh, maybe.
I think. I mean, and again, that's not a fix for the issue at hand, but
right. Good point. Anyway,
but I do think it is, like, to Johnny's point, like there are just more women writers than there are women, traditionally there are. Like, that directors club has been a boys club for so long that has definitely been changing over the past few decades. Like, we're getting more and more women directors, but we need more. I mean, we need more. We need as much representation at those very high levels behind the camera as we do in executive boardrooms, as we do in front of the camera. And once there's more representation, I think we'll see more nominations.
This is according to CNN. Campion, who was nominated for a film, Power of the Dog, is the first woman to ever be nominated twice in the category. So
maybe I'm wrong. I
thought
not
have been nominated for. I'm looking at Catherine Bigelow right now. She was definitely nominated for the Hurt Locker, but I don't know if I see. Okay, so the Hurt Locker, but in No, it was only nominated for Best Picture. She was not nominated for Best Director for Zero Dark 30, which is really surprising. So,
wow.
Soul, that goes right to your point. The fact that they would overlook her for director, but nominate her film, which happens to men too, but it's even more egregious when you're seeing it happen to women who get way less opportunities to get nominated for Best Director. So fantastic point you bring up here. Before we move on, we have a couple of Streamlabs that have come through. Y'all send them in. We're probably going to wrap up here in the next few minutes. So if you have any questions you want to ask us, send them in Super Chats or Streamlab form now, which is pinned in the chat there on the screen and in the description here. It's F. Lopez. Okay, so no, sorry. I am Two Fly Cam says, LOL, love Michael. That poster is lit, sir. Will the review be live or pre-recorded? I would say live. Yes, gentlemen.
That's what we think.
John says that because he wants it to be live, but there's a lot of texting us being like, can you do it at this time? And me being like, oh, well, I was talking to this guy. We were going to go get coffee, but I guess so. Yeah, it'll probably be live.
It'll probably be live. Yeah, I would say so. And we got to check with Laura Kelly as well, the great Laura Kelly. Haskell 420 says, hey, gang, in my opinion, Pig deserved nominations for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay. We didn't even mention Pig for Best Original, should have been nominated, and Best Actor for Cage. And for Godzilla versus Kong, Best Special Effects or Visual Effects, because they were stellar. So Geek Buddies live, 4 a.m. ET, 1 a.m. ET finale review. Just kidding. Reminder, check Disney Plus before 3 a.m. Good point. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're not going to do a live review right after it airs. I think that would be, we'd be dead. We'd be out. So, all right, let's move on to these. We'll wrap this up because we know we all got to get on with our days here. Best Original Song, Be Alive, music and lyrics by Dixon and Beyonce. Beyonce getting nominated for this. A lot of people think she's going to win. Slow the fuck down. Dos Uruguitas. I know a lot of people aren't championing this one as loudly as Bruno, but this is a gorgeous, gorgeous song in Encanto. Down to Joy and Belfast, which is not bad. Van Morrison, noted anti-vaxxer Van Morrison. This is actually a damn good song. And the whole film is full of some great classic Van Morrison songs. No Time to Die, which I really like from Billie Eilish from the James Bond film. And Somehow You Do from 4 Good Days. I have no idea what the fuck this song is. But Diane Warren, talk about a legend in the Oscars. Yeah. I mean, if it says Diane Warren, it's going to get nominated. Mike?
I mean, look, this is, and we were just talking about this beforehand. Like, so when Disney was deciding what they were going to put up for nominations for Encanto, they did not realize that basically We Don't Talk About Bruno was going to be what it became. So they didn't put it up to be nominated. So this is, they weren't sure because Encanto doesn't have that traditional, like, here is the Disney banger. So they put this one up for the nomination. I'm rooting for it because I just think Encanto has the best music of the year. But it is a shame because by anybody's stretch, the best song of the year in a movie is absolutely We Don't Talk About Bruno. So I'll root for Encanto, but I do think it's a good category. I will say, and this kind of brings up another thing that maybe we could touch on before we wrap up, which is I really hope the Oscars actually has performances this year. I really hope the Oscars has some clip reels and shows us clips of the movies and does all things. Like last year's Oscars was hashtag Oscars so dry. I mean, it was such like a slog to get through that I really, really want. I know that in the pre-show for the Oscars, they actually did have musical performances. Yeah. But like, I really hope with the Oscars this year, we get a little bit of a show in our showbiz.
Yeah, fair enough. Shin?
Yeah, it's Encanto, but it also should be We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yeah. But a lot of people think Beyonce is, but I'm seeing a lot of people online thinking Beyonce is going to take this thing. And so I might be surprised.
The only reason she could is because, and even though I agree with you, it is a beautiful song. Yeah. It is not the Encanto song. And so like, because that one's not nominated, maybe she will come in and get it. It'll be interesting to see.
Okay.
Either way, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Beyonce will get a great acceptance speech.
That's true. But don't be surprised. I'm going to put this out there. Don't be fucking surprised if Billie Eilish wins. Don't be surprised. Bond is on a bit of a run here with Skyfall and then the Sam Smith song for Spectre, which is a damn good song, regardless of what our friend Paul thinks. I love that song. And so another Bond song coming in here. And I like this song, the No Time to Die song. I think it's one of my favorite Billie Eilish songs. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one slides in and kind of takes it from everybody because Dos Uruguitas is not the one everyone's talking about. And that Beyonce song, it's not anywhere near the top on the Billboard chart. So I just wouldn't be surprised if that's the song that slides in there and takes it from everybody else. We shall see. All right, let's move on to our second to last category here, cinematography. Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, finally, Shannon, and West Side Story. So, Shannon, you look at the cinematography here. Is this where Dune is going to win? Or do you see one of the other films here sliding in and taking that victory?
I don't think it is Dunes. I think it will be The Power of the Dog, or I think it will be West Side Story.
Really?
I think it will be one of those two.
Okay.
Even though I personally would go with Macbeth.
Oh, interesting. You would take Macbeth as the cinematography.
The visual palette of that movie, it's unlike anything we've seen in a long time.
All right. Mike, thoughts on this?
I think the Academy probably, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people don't think a movie that is 90% CG counts as cinematography. I think that they will go, this looks really pretty, but you built it in a computer, whereas Jane Campion, what she did, West Side, at this point, every movie is using a level of computer technology and visual effects for sure. But I think that that's another piece of it. I think that, and I don't agree. I'm not saying that I think that's true. And I think if it were my money, Dune would absolutely, if it were my money, it would come down to Dune or West Side Story. But I kind of agree with Shannon that I think The Power of the Dog getting so nominated, this is probably one where if you're doing your Oscar bets, you wouldn't be it would be a safe bet to assume that people are going to get on that Power of the Dog bandwagon, and just every category that it's in, it's just going to be like, yep, it's Jane Campion's year. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is it.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I would like to see Dune win. I think the drumbeat's going to be loud for Dune, but I wonder if that's the one that finally gets the victory for it. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know overall how that's going to go down for that. So let me move on to the second last thing. I'm sorry, I meant that other one was less. This is best score. Have you guys got a chance to watch these movies here? You do the score whore things. You guys are known for knowing a lot about scores, even though I'm 1-0 against you guys in Matt Notes' show. But here's the scores here. Don't Look Up from Nicholas Britell. Hans Zimmer's Dune. Maybe this is where Dune finally gets it. Encanto for Jermaine Franco. Parallel Mothers, which I was really surprised to see, for Alberto Iglesias. And The Power of the Dog. Johnny Greenwood, who has worked with PTA himself in the past, but sliding into work with Campion here in Power of the Dog. Thoughts on this one?
I think the point Vogel made about Power of the Dog, I think that applies to almost every category except anything with music. Anything with music, I think, is going to go Encanto.
Okay. Yeah, what do you guys think? Encanto? Sure.
Encanto, I would put my money on Encanto, but Hansi's Dune score is a fucking, talk about...
So good.
It is something. It is like, I don't even know if it's music. It's definitely score. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think Hans Zimmer, my brother and I get in this conversation. We debate this all the time. Because I think, not surprisingly, that John Williams is the best movie composer that we've ever had. My brother thinks Hans Zimmer is the best movie composer that we have ever had. And it is two very different types of score, particularly what our boy Hansi does now.
Yeah.
Like, the Dune score is... but it's very affecting. So I don't know. There's an argument to be made that that the Hansi stands might come out in force. But I would vote for Encanto.
I hate to vote against Encanto, but I would go for Dune. That score is just God damn. The film is nowhere near as effective or moving or powerful without that score. The score is so essential. It's the same way when I felt about The Invisible Man. Wolfish's score there is such an essential part of that film being good. I think the same thing here with Dune. It is such a memorable score, and I think he's better than John Williams. I agree. Go ahead, Mike. What were you gonna say?
Sure.
John Williams is nice McDonald's. No, I'm just joking. But he's very populist, whereas I think Zimmer is more adept at different genres. I
the
go with
Star
your
Wars
blood ones.
theme, the Harry Potter theme, the Jurassic Park theme, the Raiders theme, the Superman theme.
True.
And that's just off the top of my head. We're not even getting into like second tier Williams. Like the dude has made more iconic scores through, and you could almost say, okay, well, he had his time in the 80s, but like Harry Potter came along and he came up with music that is so iconically tied to Harry Potter that we can't not hear it. Like the dude, Jaws. I didn't even put Jaws in there.
Jaws.
Like
Jaws.
it's out of control. Like you can say what you want, but Williams has the ability to make a iconic theme that will forever be tied to that movie in our minds. And Hans Zimmer,
I think that's the difference.
as he has evolved as a composer, and in a good way, like has really gone to this like sort of sound audio sort of like I am creating a mood and a piece. I think the best. I think you know what I do think. I think Shannon agrees with me. I think Ludwig Göransson has a shot to take the best of what we love about Williams and the best of what we love about Zimmer. And that dude, keep an eye on him because his scores are fantastic.
I'll see you and raise you a Giacchino. I think Giacchino is on his way as well. I think that's the battle. Göransson and Giacchino. I
think Göransson is more eclectic. I think Giacchino is a couple of notes off of John Williams, and that's not a knock.
I think Giacchino is A+ level composer.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he has landed that iconic theme in the way that Williams has done over and over and over and over and over again.
Okay.
I mean, even in Star Wars alone, there's 35 iconic themes that are all Williams. That's why we beat you on that score show.
Well, I haven't even, well, you didn't win. I mean, I don't have time to go through Zimmer's incredible scores. There are so many here. There are so many. I mean,
we're talking
Lion King, Prince of Egypt.
We are literally talking about like the top two composers that exist. Yes.
I know. Gladiator, for God. Gladiator is where he hits the next level. Like, honestly, the score.
Gladiator's great.
For Gladiator and going into Invincible, Black Hawk Down, those are incredible scores. And Last Samurai, which is one of my favorite, bar none, for sure. Batman Begins. Come on.
The Nolan trilogy.
The Nolan trilogy.
Nobody said Zimmer wasn't good.
I feel like that's what you're saying. Inception,
no,
Megamind, Rango.
All right, now you're just saying words.
Well.
Man of fucking Steel, which is one of the greatest ever. Hudson Hawk. All right,
I will put Williams' Superman theme above Zimmer's Man of Steel. I'm just telling you.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Zimmer's Man of Steel is better. But both of them evoke a different feeling, but they're both incredible.
Yeah, one is a good Superman movie and one is Man of Steel.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Last one here. And then, of course, we're getting them from the Hollywood Reporter. Best visual effects, and this is leading our way to ending our discussion here by talking about Spider-Man. But Dune nominated here for Best Visual Effects. Free Guy. Nice to see Free Guy get a little nomination. No Time to Die. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Spider-Man No Way Home. Here are the two that's missing. Godzilla versus Kong, which a lot of people are playfully and maybe some seriously saying it got snubbed, and also Eternals. So thoughts on this category, ladies and gentlemen? Shane, I'll go to you first since Mike went first last time. What do you give visual effects thoughts?
I actually would agree on the Godzilla versus Kong visual effects. It was just, they were in a movie that was so kind of... that it's very easy to forget, and also that came out all the way back in March, and at this point it's so far in people's rearview mirrors. Eternals, I wouldn't agree in terms of the special effects. I think you could make a case for Eternals in cinematography.
I think so too. Fair point.
But in special effects, I wouldn't agree. I mean, this is the category that is Dune's to lose. Even though I personally would be voting for Spider-Man, Dune is probably going to win it.
Okay. Michael, who you got in this?
Well, here would be my question. And look, Spider-Man No Way Home is like one of my favorite movies of the year, but what special effects in Spider-Man No Way Home make it a better superhero movie than all the other amazing superhero movies that we get.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Like you have the whole mirror dimension sequence, which is really cool, but like we've seen that before. Seeing all three Spider-Men in a movie is my favorite special effect, but that's casting. That's not, like everything that we see in the movie, and like I'm not knocking the movie. It's amazing.
Right.
But I think what Spider-Man No Way Home has going forward is that it brought all of these other amazing characters from previous iterations into one movie, which was the thrill. But when you really start breaking down all of the amazing action sequences that are legitimately amazing, I'm not knocking the movie, but I don't know that there was anything that was like, holy shit, that was amazing. Whereas I do think Dune, like the scale and the scope of that movie, almost like what I was saying about how it would maybe get dinged in the cinematography, is the reason that it should get visual effects.
Okay. All right, fair point. But now, what about the other side of this? Now, for me, I say Dune is the one that wins here, or don't be surprised if Shang-Chi wins it, because a lot of people really did enjoy Shang-Chi, and maybe that'll be the one they nominate for. Spider-Man could come in here and win this thing at the end as a way of a protest vote for it not being nominated for Best Picture. A lot of people upset about this, I see online on social media, although with the realistic belief that it was a long shot anyway because it's a superhero movie. Do you guys think this should have been nominated? I see people complaining, saying no, because you had to have watched all the other movies. Well, the same thing with fucking Lord of the Rings. You'd had to have watched the first two to get Return of the King. So why couldn't Spider-Man? What? Why couldn't Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah, but you're talking three movies that were released in three sequential years versus Spider-Man, which goes back 20 years, and that's what is it like?
But there were movies released every year, right? For those 20 years, I would say. So
yeah, I don't know. I think where it deserved the nomination is this is the movie that got people back to theaters. That's where I think it deserves. That's where I would say it deserves a nomination. As a movie, I think it's fantastic. Do I think it holds up against some of the others that were nominated? No, they're. But
Shannon wants to add the honorary Nicole Kidman "Put Your Butt in a Seat" AMC award because here they are award.
All right. Well, what do you think about that, Michael? Were you surprised by it? Do you think it should have been nominated?
I wasn't surprised it wasn't nominated, but I think this does speak to the bigger. Not even the issue with the Oscars. This is the bigger debate and it's literally the bigger. Every time you see a headline that says so-and-so thinks superhero movies are ruining cinema, so-and-so would never direct a superhero movie. This is the push and pull of this. It's the commercial business side of the movie industry and the artsy fartsy artistic side of the industry and where those things meet. And a movie that is making billions and billions of dollars at the box office about a guy who has spider powers and two other dudes from separate universes who have spider powers and all of their villains coming together to fight. There is just, it's not even an age thing. There is a certain level of the industry that goes, glad you got people in the seats, but that's not an artsy movie. Power of the Dog, that's an artsy movie. Right. And so I don't know what the answer is. Like, by any stretch, when you look back on this year, Spider-Man No Way Home is the number one movie of the year, like financially, but also to Shannon's point, the movie that got all of us excited about movies, the movie that got people in theaters. The first time any of us couldn't get tickets in a long time because it was sold out 4 days. And so I actually agree with Shannon that there's something to be said for the movies that actually wow us and excite us. But that's not what the Academy is necessarily taking into account. And I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing. I actually can't decide.
Okay. I think it would have been a nice, bold step forward for them to nominate this movie, because the thing is, these movies have to resonate and they have to be remembered. This, to me, isn't, I mean, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, those are two incredibly well done, artistically well done movies. Okay, this isn't Expendables 3, like blow ups and having fun or whatever. These films have something really powerful to say about the human experience. There is tragedy, there is loss, there is risk, there is sacrifice, and there is a fighting of an entity that's going, yes, to destroy the world. But if you strip it down to a micro story, it is about fighting against evil in the world and coming together as friends, ignoring differences, putting country lines aside to come together to fight against something that threatens their very existence. And a lot of these films can go this route. And look at Spider-Man No Way Home. It's about this guy confronting loss and tragedy, a very huge loss in his life, and getting help from people who have walked other paths before and have experienced the loss before, coming together to talk with him, to guide him out of the anger into a better place. So all of that, it suits, and people in portals, but it's about that power of connection. And I think that's another reason why this thing should have been nominated.
I mean, look,
over Nightmare Alley.
If I was going to make an argument, if I was going to go toe to toe with like a cinephile on Spider-Man No Way Home, like, I think what you do say is, I think what you would say is and agreeing with you, not arguing with you, but agreeing with you, I would say that first of all, the very fact that they took 3 different versions of a franchise and managed to intertwine them successfully and have each of those individual franchises feel like there was a payoff is actually a storytelling feat that is way bigger than just here's the latest superhero movie.
Right.
Also, beyond that, if you're going to look at, as you were saying, Shakespeare as sort of the crowd pleaser of his day, and you're going to look at the source material of comic books as the crowd pleasers of our day, the fact that they took the origin of Spider-Man, the Uncle Ben, the great power comes great responsibility, and completely flipped it around, handed it to Aunt May, and made the last movie in this franchise almost the origin story of Spider-Man is also really impressive. If you were to all of a sudden have someone come along on Apple Plus with a black and white movie where Shylock, Macbeth, and Othello all met together and had some conversation about love and loss and what it means to do whatever, and like mixed and matched Shakespeare, you can be fucking guaranteed that movie would get a bunch of fucking nominations, and everybody would be up their butt being like, look at the way they broke down Shakespeare and rebuilt Shakespeare in a really interesting way. Wasn't that fascinating, the way they took the bard's words and twisted it around? But you do that with a comic book franchise and everyone's like, yeah, okay, it's another thing that's ruining Hollywood. And I would say that is the reason that No Way Home deserves to get nominated. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's a good TED Talk. Agreed. The Willyverse or the Shakespeare verse. I don't know. What would you call it? The Shakespeare. The Willyverse. I don't know.
Willyverse. No! That's a different thing, and that's not appropriate.
And for those who are...
I think you can find that on the internet someplace.
Not in a good place. And for those of you who are mad fans of Charles Dickens novels, there is a show called Dickensian that came out on BBC where all the characters from his novels interact in a town, and their stories interact with overall stories as well that are happening. Really a brilliantly, deftly made series that works so well with a lot of great British actors. So if they could have done the Willyverse, I think I'd be down to see the Willyverse. Anyone being able to connect those stories would have been incredible. And Sol on my side saying she likes the Willyverse. That's why it's no Din 1, but I'll take it for now. All right,
come on.
Let's wrap up here. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, 2 hours just flew by talking about these Oscars nominations. We really appreciate it madly, you all hanging out with us. Thanks for all the Streamlabs and Super Chats. And please remember to hit a like on this video. Hit a like on this video. We're at 150 likes. Let's get to 200 likes as we're wrapping up here. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at Geek_Buddies. On Instagram, at _Geek_Buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
If you enjoyed talking Oscar nominations with us and you want to see more fun content like the Willyverse, here is how you can make that happen. Definitely hit the like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, check out all the amazing content. You guys in the comments have been amazing, but leave some comments below as well. Who do you think is the one to win? What's going to sweep? What was snubbed? How do you feel about Dune? How do you feel about Spider-Man No Way Home? What do you think about geeky content versus cinematic artsy-fartsy content? Like, let us know all of that in the comments. If you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you very much. Take a minute to leave us some stars, leave some comments, helps us go up in the rankings so people can find us on our entertainment podcasts. And as always, the best thing that you guys can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell everybody that if they like geeky stuff, they should be hanging out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what real quick comment here from Cesar Cespedes, who says Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen does the same with novel characters. Yes, they do, Cesar.
Yep.
Definitely pick up the first version.
That is one of Shannon McClung's favorite comics that made him still try and defend that shitty ass movie.
I don't try to defend the movie.
Yeah, I think we
anymore. Anymore.
Yeah, true. Fair point. I think we did go to see that. We talked ourselves into liking that movie. That was
having a framed poster of it does not mean I'm defending it. Okay.
And a big shout out again to Carbon Health, our sponsor for the Geek Buddies in the Outlaw Nation. Thank you to Carbon Health for coming along for this ride with us. Remember, they are a national healthcare provider where they provide healthcare in a number of states. They got 90 clinics, I think, in 14 states, virtual care in 24 states. They believe healthcare should be accessible to everyone, and they build plans for you specifically. They work with you to develop a good plan for your healthcare. So please take a look at them. Go to their website, carbonhealth.com, and see if there's a place near you where you can get checked out, get tested for COVID, get tested for going overseas, all that stuff they're offering. They're a great place, and we're very grateful they support us.
I'm currently putting together my John Rocha Oscar night Carbon Health plan with Carbon Health. It is called Have an Ambulance on Hand in case Licorice Pizza wins anything, so that when John has a heart attack and dies, he can go directly to the hospital. Thank you, Carbon Health.
Son of a bitch. I didn't even think about it winning Best Picture. I don't think it's a possibility, but oh my God. Now I live in dread for the next few weeks. All right, there we go. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Don't forget, our main Geek Buddies show is coming sometime tomorrow or Thursday, and then our live spoiler review, hopefully, of the finale of the Book of Boba Fett with Laura Kelly joining us later on this week as well. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. Thank you so much. Happy Oscars, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here from the
Geek
Buddies.